So you said something very interesting in the beginning. You touched on the point about responsibility, which is very fascinating to me.
No matter how many cell phones we change, no matter how many cars we kind of buy, no matter whether we can claim we can go into the space, but when it comes to human health, when it comes to mental health, when it comes to physical health, we still are going back into the ancient science, into the ancient knowledge of Ayurveda and yoga. And today, even the top mental therapists across the world acknowledge the power of meditation and yoga in changing how we feel about ourselves.
Yes. What is the tipping point that you have seen in people's lives that kind of gets them over the edge and helps them understand that they need to take more responsibility in their life?
The first tipping point amongst many, probably I'll point out 5 or 6 tipping points, is the fact that it's very easy for us to not take responsibility and blame it on someone, Another tipping point is we are somehow always in this ideation that death is not mine, You could die, a friend could die, somebody else could die, everybody could die except for me.
Mm-hmm. What advice would you give to people who are having this trouble, who have someone in their love life, in their family, who suffers from chronic depression maybe, or just has a little bit darker mindset towards the life around him?
That's a very forceful approach.
How do we avoid going into a resentment spiral and still be able to provide that love to people?
So it's very important, before you see somebody who's sick, try to self-reflect. Can you make that change first before asking someone else to make that change? And trust me, most of the times when loved ones start making changes, so in that sense, yoga is meditation, or meditation is yoga, where physical yoga is just a small, tiny bit in this whole universe of yoga. So please.
Thank you everyone for joining. My name is Petar, and today I have a very, very special guest. He is my friend and teacher, Vidhi. He's from India, and he's the sole owner of Awaken Inner Buddha. I have a very interesting story with him. We met around, how much was it? 2 years ago? Maybe 2 years and a half?
In 21, I think?
In 21? Yes. And no, it was 2022.
So maybe 3 years, yes.
Yes, 3 years. And back then, I was living a totally different life. I was into a lot of business. I was working very hard, working from home. And Vidhi showed me that there is a lot more to life than work. He introduced me to yoga, to meditation. And during 2023, I visited one of his retreats in Lefkada, Greece for 1 week. And that retreat changed my life. I didn't know what to expect, but I didn't expect what I found, for sure. So for the past 2 years, I have been going around a spiritual journey with the lessons that he taught me, mostly about meditation, about mental health, about my connection with the body. So this is the reason why I have invited him here, not only in this podcast, but in Bulgaria, to share a little bit more of his knowledge and his expertise, so more of us can learn from the true ways of yoga. And Vidhi, thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure for me to have you here as a friend, as a guest, as a teacher. And I would like you to say 5 words, 5 sentences, a little bit about yourself, so the audience can get to know you.
Thank you so much, Petar, for inviting me here in Bulgaria. Bulgaria always holds a very special place for me, because the first time I discovered Bulgaria was, I think, way back in 2016, when I was finishing a program in Greece. And from Greece, I came to Bulgaria by road. And of course, I met you much later in 2022. And since then, we have been great friends. And it's been quite a journey, because primarily what I do, I'm a therapist. I do mental therapy, I do physical therapy, and every bit of therapy that I do, it takes the Eastern route. So even if we do mental therapy, we approach it from the perspective of Buddhist teachings, from the perspective of understanding the mind, from the perspective of understanding what have I created in my life, or what have I attracted in my life, and if I can take responsibility for it so that I can have the chance to change it. In the background of this therapy, a big part of my work is meditation and yoga. Why? Because they form those essential tools with which the healing happens. The kind of healing that we focus upon, unlike the West, is a holistic healing. So it's not just about let me eat this kind of diet, or let me have just water, or let me stop smoking, or let me stop drinking, but to understand the mind, body, and the spirit concept in a totalitarian environment where you can not only affect the food that you eat, but also the behavior or how you treat yourself, how you treat the people around yourself, and how you see things from a holistic perspective. So to change your lifestyle, to change your food and diet, to change how we behave and treat others, because others are a part of ourselves, and keeping all of that in mind, how to bring these practices back into ourselves, and how to use these practices to withdraw our attention, our awareness from everything outside back inside. Because one of the biggest challenges in today's times is we are just not able to focus,
Yeah, I agree.
It's very easy for me to check out a car, check out a person, check out a man or a woman, but when it comes to the subject of focusing on myself, focusing on my own breath, focusing on who am I, understanding myself, observing myself without any reaction, without creating any fantasy, without going into an imaginary world, focusing on myself as I am, this becomes a very tough task. To the point that every time we are introducing students around the world, in more than 50 countries that I have traveled, when we introduce them to the subject of meditation, when we introduce them to the subject of looking within, one of the most common questions that I come across is, but I cannot meditate. So what have I been doing is basically helping people reach their highest potential through therapy, through food, through diet, and through a very old, time-tested subject of meditation and yoga.
Yes.
No matter how many cell phones we change, no matter how many cars we kind of buy, no matter whether we can claim we can go into the space, but when it comes to human health, when it comes to mental health, when it comes to physical health, we still are going back into the ancient science, into the ancient knowledge of Ayurveda and yoga. And today, even the top mental therapists across the world acknowledge the power of meditation, acknowledge the power of Buddhist meditation and yoga in changing how we feel about ourselves.
Yes.
And I think that's the need of an hour, that irrespective of whatever we're doing in life, we should have the time and ability to take care of ourselves. Instead of downing ourselves in alcohol, in people, in objects, in luxury, in wealth, we should be able to, without the interference of any of these objects, without the interference of cell phones, television, what I should wear, what I should look like, we should be able to reflect on our own selves.
I am very impressed by what you have done so far for the past 10, 20 years. You have traveled to 56 countries, and I agree that now, more than ever, the West and Western medicine has started to learn a thing or two from yoga and meditation and spiritual practices. I feel like historically, maybe 10, 20 years ago, they were considered as kind of a pseudoscience. Like things that people believe in, they hope and they achieve. But now there are a lot of studies about meditation, how it affects the brain, how it affects the neurological pathing in your brain, alongside breathing techniques, alongside yoga, how the brain interconnects with the body. And studies show that this generally increases the level of happiness and self-awareness of individuals. So you said something very interesting in the beginning. You touched on the point about responsibility, which is very fascinating to me, because responsibility about your own personal mental health and that of others is still a topic that's, I don't think, that widely understood. People have covered it, but it's not really talked about as much. They talk about responsibility for nature, for carbon emissions, for technologies, but responsibility towards yourself and towards the people you care about. What is the tipping point that you have seen in people's lives that kind of gets them over the edge and helps them understand that they need to take more responsibility in their life?
So there is not one single tipping point that I would suggest, or I would say this is the universal tipping point, and if that happens, it would push you across, whatever your edge is. I think there are several tipping points, and the first tipping point amongst many, probably I'll point out 5 or 6 tipping points, is the fact that it's very easy for us to not take responsibility and blame it on someone,
Yes.
It's like one of my favorite songs, Blame It on the Rain, like back from the 94 or 93. So it's very easy to blame it on somebody. Try to find who's responsible for my misery. That's number one. To be able to understand that nobody, except for yourself, is responsible for what you are going to experience either now or in the near future or in the future. On the contrary, to understand that whatever you've experienced, whether it's your suffering, whether it's your happiness, whether it's how miserable you are in the present, has everything to do with whatever you may have processed in the brain or in your body, or whatever actions you might have taken in form of speech or physical action that have brought you to suffering in this present moment. So taking responsibility that my thoughts, my action, my speech creates my own suffering. That's number one. The second thing that is very common and evident is the belief system that we live in today. So many people that I work with have a very negative self-belief about themselves. It's great how you present yourself in front of me. It's great how you dress in front of others. But when you are with yourself in the mirror, the self-talk, the self-belief that people have is so alarming. Because the way we treat ourselves has become so negative. We've started believing things about ourselves that may not even be true. And this is a tipping point, because you could have the wealth of the world, you could have all the facilities in the world. However, if you believe that you don't deserve them, you may have the following of 2 million people, but if your belief system is that you don't deserve love, if you may have the best job on the planet, maybe you have the best business, maybe you are a vlogger, maybe you are a YouTuber, or maybe you're a scientist, but you believe that you should not be having what you have because of your belief system, then you're constantly worried. Am I going to lose it somehow? Am I going to lose it someday? I've gotten there, but it doesn't make me feel complete. So even when people have absolutely nothing to worry about, their belief system converts and changes the world that they're living in. So even when they have nothing to be worried about, on the face of it, a person may have everything, their belief system changes the way that they experience life. It changes the way they're experiencing relationships. It changes the way they interact with an energy called wealth. It changes the way they interact with themselves, and it changes the way how they attract the right kind of situations, people, in order to either cause them suffering or cause them happiness.
Yes.
Another tipping point is we are somehow always in this ideation that death is not mine, You could die, a friend could die, somebody else could die, everybody could die except for me. And we are somehow, even though we experience death in relatives, in friends, in society, we hear about Michael Jackson dying, we hear about someone else dying, we hear about this person dying, that person dying, but we are never aware that we could die at any possible moment, any passing moment. And from that perspective, because we are not able to recognize death, we are not able to recognize the beauty of life that we have been granted.
Yes.
Because we never stop, because we are perpetually in this circle of belief that I will live forever. Death belongs to you, maybe death belongs to my father, maybe death belongs to someone else, but death does not belong to me. We are living in this perpetual ideation that I am here forever. And because I think of death as a non-stop infinite point that I'm never going to reach, I never stop and appreciate what I have today in this life.
Yes.
So this is one of the tipping points, because when we don't stop to think of how valuable this life is, I'm sorry, we don't take responsibility for actually doing anything to make it better.
Yes, we don't stop to appreciate what we have, what's around us, because the tempo of everyday's lives now is moving faster and pushing us faster. Some things are happening, and when we're all interconnected more than ever with social media, online, everything's been covered before, but we stop to appreciate the small things that are around us. Right?
Yes, and more than appreciating, I think it's to be able to value this life so that you can make it better. It should not be appreciation in the sense that, wow, I have life, let me have more alcohol, let me get more high, let me do more material things, but to understand that you have been given this valuable life, and this life can get or create so much of value, not just for yourself by doing good things, but also create so much of value for people around you, for nature around you, for all living and non-living beings around you. Because at the end of the day, what are we but not a part of the universe?
Yes.
If we say this tree means nothing, I'm sorry, but this tree actually gives us life. A flower gives us happiness. A dog makes us happy. The wind makes us feel, when it is hot, wow, the weather is so nice.
Yes.
So every particle of the universe is not living by itself. It is contributing to how life rolls out in the universe.
Yes.
And from that perspective, we are also a part and particle of the universe, where we are not living for ourselves. We are living for the wellness of everyone else. And we have to see this bigger picture as to how can I contribute to the idea of may all beings be happy. And this is something that nobody, no religion really talks about, except for ancient or traditional Hinduism or Buddhism or most of the spiritual teachings from India, where we say, may all beings be happy. May all beings be free of their suffering. Whatever I accrue today, whatever I have earned today, may everyone be a part of it, thereby realizing that I am a particle of the universe. My ego does not matter in front of what I contribute for the happiness of others.
Yes.
Understanding that happiness is not about having that chocolate or having that beautiful car, that beautiful man or a woman, but happiness truly comes when we see ourselves as a part of a bigger picture, and we are contributing to this picture. We are that beautiful shade that makes this whole picture come alive. So the day you start helping others and people feel happy that somebody helped me, trust me, whether you have money, whether you have no money, whether you have a man, whether you have a woman, you will feel this joy. And this is the joy that inspires so many people about Mother Teresa. This is the joy that inspires so many people about creatures like Buddha or Jesus or any NGO worker, for example. You know, you may have a friend who's working for poor children or poor people, or for people in Syria, or for somebody across the globe whom they don't know. So compassion is so inspiring. Why? Because when we work for others, we are naturally fitting into that frame of the universe where we create happiness, not through some short-lived happiness, but a lot of happiness that's not only meaningful for us, but for everyone in life.
Yes. And one thing I would like to add to that, what you said is super beautiful. It's super important to have this happiness first spark within yourself. So if you're not feeling happy, it's extremely difficult to help others. And when you are unhappy and helping others, usually you would attract people that cannot really be helped with. So first and utmost, from what we've been talking before this podcast also, is helping yourself to keep that happiness and energy. I usually imagine it as a crystal inside of you that lights up and sparkles with energy the more you feed it, and that crystal radiates your body and enlightens everything around you. So it's also about boundaries, right? So whenever you are happy, you can try to give, but you need to give people who are open to receiving that help, and don't try to bother yourself too much if someone isn't at the stage where he can receive help. What advice would you give to people who are having this trouble, who have someone in their love life, in their family, who suffers from chronic depression maybe, or just has a little bit darker mindset towards the life around him? I think people find themselves kind of stuck in positions where they get dragged down, and by getting dragged down, they're helping no one. So how can people like that lift themselves up, and in return, what would happen to the people around them?
Okay, this is a great topic because this is something that I come across quite often. Since I do a lot of mental therapy work, through mental therapy I also do physical therapy work, and basically upgrading life, to the next level. So a lot of times I come across wives, I come across husbands, I come across parents, I come across children who want to help their parents, who want to help their loved ones. And the way they approach is a very direct approach. I know your job or your work can help him or her, so please help him. Or tell me how I can help him. And I think that's a very, very forceful approach. And I would never work with anybody's wife or husband or parent or child unless and until I have a feeling that this person that they want to help wants to help themselves, wants to change out of the situation that they're already stuck in. Because if you cannot, in the first place, see where you are stuck, nobody else's vision, nobody else's idea that you're unhealthy, that you're kind of not progressing, will ever going to affect you or help you. So if your parents have cancer, or if your parents are suffering from blood pressure, or if your brother has an addiction, or if your mother has a disease, just because you've got a great therapist, you have a great guide who can help them, doesn't mean that is going to really make a change. That's number one to understand. Number two, so what can we do in such cases? So instead of preaching, when it comes to personal relationships, it's always a great idea. Instead of preaching, become the example that you want them to copy. Become that example that they look upon and they get inspired from. Like when we were having this conversation, you were talking to the audience and you said, here is Vidhi, and I found him very inspiring. If you find somebody inspiring, it's because of the actions that they take, the speech that they do, and what do they do in their life in order to take care of themselves. So it's very important before we reach out to our parents, before we reach out to our loved ones, can we be an example for them without teaching them, without forcing them, without giving them ideation of, hey, I know this is not good for you. I think you should stop doing this. Oh, I think you should meet a therapist. You should go and do yoga. Before doing that, can we be an example? And from here, we have to come back to valuing your own life. Do you think your life is valuable enough to be upgraded? Can you take care of yourself? Can you take care of your food and diet? Can you be a healthy person? Can you be a person who meditates regularly? Can you be a person who dedicates time? Out of 24 hours, there are 2 hours that you give to yourself without letting anybody else interfere. And that is where the subject of boundaries come, Sometimes we have this belief system that I'll only be happy when I'll be doing something to please others without taking out time for myself. It's okay, I won't take time out for myself. I'll do everything to make people happy around me, for my boss, for my girlfriend, for my father, for my mother, but no time for myself. So how do you want to look upon a person like that who has no time for themselves, who does not take care of their own health, own mental health, own food and diet, and then this person comes and tells you, you should change your diet, you should start exercising, you should start doing yoga and meditation. So it's very important, before you see somebody who is sick, try to self-reflect. Whatever you're seeing is coming from within. So try to self-reflect. Can you make that change first before asking someone else to make that change? And trust me, most of the times when loved ones start making changes, anybody who's sick around them always gets a little bit of inspiration. Even if they get 10% inspired, 5% inspired, that will take them a longer way. If you get them in the right direction, that matters more than forcing them to say, hey, come on, change your diet, drink more water, stop alcohol, stop drinking. The moment you start doing that, they start thinking, he or she takes care of himself. Can I do the same for myself? Am I able to take care of myself? Will my coming generations look at me and they will treat me like they treat him, or will they treat me like somebody who was irresponsible towards myself? So we have to learn to be an example first. At the same time, I always say, if you meditate, if you're somebody who's continuously engaging with the field of spirituality, going at a soul level, then it's very important, after you meditate, after you've done your yoga, give good energies, give metta. Like I said, may all beings be happy. So give good energies to everyone, and after doing all of those good energies, always visualize your loved ones healing, your loved ones looking after themselves, your loved ones getting inspired to work on their health. And sometimes, you won't believe, just sending this ideation, just sending this vibration in your mind is far more powerful than saying, Dad, you need to stop doing this. Mother, you need to stop doing this. You need to change your food and diet so that you can lose weight. No. So, 1, can you be an example? 2, can you practice yourself? 3, can you, from a loving place of the heart, can you send them good energies and visualize that they are looking after themselves, they are healing, without your asking them to do so? Every time in my life when I came across similar situations, I took both the paths. So one path of going ahead and saying, you should do this, you should do that. And the second path, which turned out to be 200 times more effective, is actually becoming the example, actually doing whatever they should be doing. And when I went deeper into my meditation, after I finished with the meditation, always praying for the wellness, specifically for our loved ones, hoping, believing that they've started looking after themselves. And I was surprised, miracles happened. The very people I loved, the very people that I had talked to, they started doing all the things that they were otherwise not doing when I was asking them to do it. So that's a long way to go, yeah.
I have found that during these transformative paths and wishing unto others well and health, often there is a pitfall where somehow it can trigger resentment. If a person feels like they are improving and they see that the person is not improving as much, they can feel that can drag them down. So, as we grow as people and we evolve, it's hard to provide that self-love that we have achieved inside to the people around us that we see maybe stuck in the same place that they have been for a while. So growing out of that relationship, it comes as the natural path of growth, but these are still people that we love, right? So how do we manage that? How do we avoid going into a resentment spiral and still be able to provide that love to people who over time might have gotten might have become a different person than who we once married or had in our lives?
So if I understand correctly, you're asking me how to have healthier relationship, is that correct, with our loved ones? And these healthy relationships could be friends, could be family, it could be our girlfriend, boyfriend, it could be our spouses. Is that what you want to know? That over a period of time, when a person starts changing and we change over a period of time, how to continue to have a healthier relationship? Is that my understanding?
Yes, as we grow as a person, how to keep that energy flowing into the other person that might be stuck at a different level.
So before I answer that kind of a question, I would like to understand from you, how is your relationship with a pet? You know, you might have a pet like a cat, you may have a pet like a dog or a bird at home. So how is your relationship different from a pet at home, an animal at home? Give me 3 top points that you think that your relationship is different in regards to a pet as compared to a partner or a parent that you cohabit the space with.
Yes.
Okay? Let's talk about that, and then I'll come back to answering your questions in much more depth.
All right.
So tell me 3 points why the relationship that you have with your cat or a dog is different from the relationship that you have with someone else.
Okay. So first of all, my cat doesn't participate in household chores.
Okay, all right, that's great.
She doesn't clean, wash the dishes. She's just there and I take care of her. That's one thing. Second thing is I cannot have deep emotional conversations with my cat, although
Okay.
we still have that connection and we take care of each other in our own bi-species way. It's still, maybe I can understand her, but I do not think she can understand me, and I do not expect that from her. Another thing would be that with a partner, I would expect support through different times, like tough periods in my life, and understanding as well. Something that might not need to be communicated, something that's kind of like it would be set as a basis for our relationship.
Like a baseline.
Like a baseline.
Okay.
Baseline of support. But with my cat, she can support me, although her support doesn't go that deep, and it's not so interwoven in deep, complex subjects about salaries, about life, about everyday day-to-day hassles. So those are maybe the 3 points I would say are. I would have expectations from my pet, or rather not have expectations, but might need something like that from the person close to me.
And my other question is, out of the 2 relationships, which relationship is easier to maintain and last long? Where do you have a stronger bond? Is it with a human relationship or is it with a pet? Which one is which has a susceptibility of lasting longer? Which would you suspect that, yes, this is definitely going to last till one of us will die?
That's a good question. that's a really good question.
No, but if you were to really take all the possibilities and all the odds in the world between having a relationship with a human being vis-a-vis having a relationship with a bird or a cat, which out of the 2, it's a black and white question in that sense, you think is definitely going to end well till the time one of the 2 will die?
Definitely the one with my cat.
Exactly. And that's amazing, So when it comes to healthy relationships, I take this example because, and I asked you this question because you actually own a pet, and you also understand, and so does every single person who owns a pet around the world, that if they have a husband or a spouse, and if they have a cat or a dog or a bird, they know one relationship is always going to be a successful relationship in terms of what they get out of it.
Yes.
And that's going to be the pet.
Yes.
Okay. The second point I want to make is the very fact that even though you have a pet who does not do household chores, with whom you cannot have an intelligent conversation, someone who actually adds to your level of household chores. So if you had to cook, if you had to kind of do work on the computer, if you had to kind of go and do grocery shopping, if you had to earn money, I'm sorry, apart from cleaning for your own things, now you also have to clean the shit of the cat or the shit of the dog or the shit of the bird. Also, if you have a dog or an animal that needs walking, you probably also need to take them out. You also need to give them attention, right? I mean, you would know better. Anybody who has an animal at their home, they know better that the key to a good relationship with a pet is giving attention and time, right? So if you are not being able to share your responsibilities with a pet, if your work is increasing because of the pet, if they cannot have an intelligent conversation with you, if they cannot share things with you or share the responsibility of earning money with you, if they cannot do the tasks of the house, then my question is very simple. How come do you think this relationship has a higher chance of success? What is that one thing that you would say creates this success, that when you say I have an animal and I have a spouse, my relationship with the animal is going to be a successful one till the time one of us dies, What is that one key element?
Good question, first of all. Never thought about that in that kind of perspective. Perhaps with my pet, we have, the moment I took her in, we created like a social contract that I would take care of her, that I would clean her poop, that I would feed her in exchange for her energy and loyalty. So this is the social contract that I accepted, right? And I think that's different from the social contract that you accept when you are with a partner. Yeah. So in the beginning, the expectations were set with my cat. I will clean you, I will love you, I will feed you. But with a partner, you expect it to be more like... I read something online, and this might be out of topic, but in a good relationship, it's always 60-40, with both parties trying to be the 60.
Okay, that's great. But again, I'll come back to the same question. I'll say, what is that one element you think that makes the relationship with the pet successful as compared to a spouse, which I cannot predict? Maybe I'll have the spouse forever, maybe I'll not have the spouse forever, maybe I'll have a spouse for only 4 or 5 years. So in comparison to the two, even though one relationship is more heavier on me, what makes it more successful?
I'm not sure.
Okay, that's a great one, because a lot of people are not sure as to what makes our relationships successful with others. Okay, the first thing, and you talked about social contract, and I don't think there is a social contract when you bring a pet home. Even if you draw a social contract with your dog or a cat and you present it to the cat or the dog, the first thing they're going to do is they will just bite it out. They don't understand the concept of a social construct or the concept of a social contract. So why is it that my relationship with a bird or an animal or a pet is more successful? Simply because of two things, which are key to my understanding that till the time one of us die, this is going to be a great relationship. Number one is having no expectations.
Yes.
When I bring a cat at home, when I bring a dog at home, when I bring a bird at home, I am mesmerized by the beauty of the creature. I am so taken by their presence and how their presence affects me that in kind of respect of that presence,
Yes.
in the eventual exchange of that presence, I'm ready to do anything. I'm ready to get the most expensive cat food. I'm ready to take care of their shit. I'm ready to create a little house for them. I'm ready to get a special maybe sofa for them and have a special part, If my cat goes somewhere, I'm ready to accept whatever they do. And that acceptance comes with no expectations. Even though I'll be doing that, I don't expect that my cat is going to do the work for me. My dog is going to do the work for me. It comes with understanding that for that beauty and for that energy that it makes me feel inside of me, I'm okay with doing all their work. I'm okay for earning, I'm okay for providing them, I'm okay for cleaning their shit after them, I'm okay for giving them attention, I'm okay for taking them out. So big question to ask yourself, do you have the same level of commitment? Do you have the same level of committed expectation in your own relationships or not? That's the key. Because without that key, you cannot unlock the mystery of healthier relationships. The second thing is, why should I have a cat or a dog when I have to clean their shit? Why do I need to have a cat or a dog when it actually changes the way I make plans? If I have to travel across the globe, having a pet at home makes it more difficult because I have to now account for who's going to take care of the cat when I'm gone. I'm going to account for how the cat is being fed, how the dog is being taken care of. So when the cat is creating so many hurdles in my life, why don't I just get rid of the cat or the animal? Simply because there is an acceptance of the creature as it is, not as I want it to be, but as it is. So when there are no expectations combined with acceptance, and this acceptance and no expectation is coming simply because how the creature makes you feel. Yes. This expectation and this acceptance is not coming for what they contribute. Are they contributing financially to me? Are they contributing in terms of work? Are they going to have an intelligent discussion? Are they going to be my best friend? Are they going to give me good sex? Are they going to be making food for me? Are they going to be going along with my plans. The day you start reducing your expectations from others, especially in social relationships, especially in personal relationships, and you come from a place of respect, you come from a place of compassion, you come from a place of acceptance and infinite love, like you have for your cat or you have for dog, that no matter what you do or you don't, I feel this love for you.
Yes.
I appreciate and value your presence. If you have that kind of feeling for the people that you have in your lives, and you come with that zero expectation and complete acceptance, then you will find that your relationships are going to be much more easier. And yet, at the same time, I would say, because it's a human relationship, there will always be difficulties. But I think the biggest difficulty that comes is our reaction to our own expectation. Me telling somebody you should do this when me or I myself am not doing the same.
Yes.
When it comes to me taking care of a bird or a cat or a dog, there is no ego. There is this place of love and service. I am here to serve you because your presence makes me so happy. But when it comes to a human being, there is always this comparison. There is always this emotion of comparison that I call ego. Ego, if we actually look on it, for me, in my understanding, ego is an emotion that only comes in context to others. It's an emotion of comparison. When we start comparing ourselves to our partners, that's when we start having not only expectations, but we also start failing in our relationship. And if we can kind of remind ourselves, if we can meditate, if we can do yoga in our daily lives, if we can take care of ourselves, if we can become still within ourselves to understand, I am in this relationship to serve, I am in this relationship to love, I am in this relationship to accept the person for who they are without trying to change them, then you can bet on your relationship will last as long as it's going to last with your pet. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. So I've started thinking about how I approach life and the expectations I have from others, simply because when I engage in interpersonal dynamic with someone, it might be my boss, it might be a partner, it might be a friend, they show a baseline, and I start to kind of
question.
I start to take that baseline as the baseline, as the norm of that person. So I might be fascinated by it, I might be disengaged by it. So as that person's behavior changes and grows over time and goes further away from the norm, I kind of my world changes as this is not the same person I had before. But why aren't you doing this anymore? You used to do that. Why aren't you smiling? Or why are you going out more? Why are you behaving like that? So we tend to overthink what caused that change. I think the overthinking cycle, that's when it begins. So I have found for myself, and I think a lot of people everywhere else, that overthinking doesn't lead to a lot of good things. Very rarely by overthinking, maybe like a puzzle or an escape room, could be. But when you overthink too much about personal relationship, you kind of push the narrative into an imaginary direction that
very true.
That's not based in reality. So in terms of yoga, how does that facilitate, in your simple words, the process of acceptance and mindfulness?
Well, what is very important in the practice of yoga and meditation, and when I'm talking about yoga as a subject or as a discipline, it's important to understand yoga does not mean physical exercises. Yoga is the path of redirecting your awareness from everything outside back inside. It's a spiritual and mental practice. So in that sense, yoga is meditation, or meditation is yoga, where physical yoga is just a small tiny bit in this whole universe of yoga. So please, whenever I'm talking about yoga, let's not think of, how can physical yoga help me? No. When we practice yoga, whether it is physical yoga along with meditation, or when we're practicing meditation, you will not be able to progress till the time you do not learn to accept yourself. If today you are not able to do a posture and you say, no, I don't accept that I cannot do a posture. The teacher can do it, I also need to do it. You cannot accept your body, that your body is stiff. You cannot accept that your body is unhealthy. You cannot accept that you cannot do the posture. That non-acceptance will lead you either into hurting yourself or dropping the subject entirely. True or false?
True.
Right. So, when we want to progress into a subject, we have to accept that we do not know enough about the subject. We have to accept that we are in a place where we are not ready yet. And when we accept that, when we become accepting of our own selves, then we work upon becoming better every single day. So maybe first day you're not able to raise your leg, and you accept that. Oh my God, I'm not able to raise my leg. Let me look at others. They're able to raise much further. So what do I need to do? I need to work a little bit more than others in raising my leg, in working out more so that my body warms up a little bit more than others who might be more flexible. So the moment you start doing the practice of yoga, whether it is physical yoga, whether you are going inside deep to understand the nature of your own mind, to understand the nature of your own breath, but your mind does not want to concentrate, you have to accept that nature of your own mind. So the practice of yoga or the practice of meditation starts with accepting who you are in this present moment. And the moment you start accepting yourself, instead of being focused in this fictional narrative about someone else as to what they're doing, how they're putting me down, how they're affecting my energy and things like that, you will start focusing within. And when you start focusing within, you will start seeing all the hurdles that you have caused or created in your own mind, in your vision outside. It is not they who are carrying this fictional narrative, but it's you who's carrying that narrative where the person has some defects and you're proving while looking at them, or they are proving while doing certain actions to be true to your narrative. You will start realizing sooner or later as you go deeper in yoga that you are looking on the people, at the world all the time with your own pink, violet, yellow colored glasses. The reality is very different. You are not reacting to the present moment, you are not reacting to the person, but you are reacting to your own expectations, you are reacting to your past. Whatever experiences you have had in the past, you're using those experiences as a baseline to judge the person in the present moment. Thereby, whatever you think the person is doing to you is an ideation that you've created in your own mind. So when you go deeper into meditation, when you start working on yourself, when you start meditating, when you start going deeper and deeper into yoga, not because you have to show off, but you actually want to do the self-inquiry, you start learning, hey, I'm becoming aware that I feel jealous. I am becoming aware that this makes me uncomfortable. I am becoming aware that I have so many expectations of things from people around me. I am becoming aware that I get angry when people don't listen to me. It's remarkable. Till the time I don't look within, even though these things may seem like simple everyday wisdom, they will only dawn upon me when I start looking within, inside the nature of my own mind. What makes me happy? What makes me tick? What triggers me? What makes me angry? And only when you accept where you are, then you can start moving where you want to be. If I accept right now I'm in Sofia, and I need to go in the direction of Armenia or New York or maybe London or Berlin, then I can start figuring out what is the direction to go to Berlin.
How to get there.
And how to get there. But if I am in complete non-acceptance of, I'm not in Sofia, I'm somewhere. I'm on a patch of green grass or a park, but I don't know where I am. I don't accept that I am here in Sofia. I'm sorry, I can never figure out the right direction to head into. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. So in the end, our worst enemy is ourselves, and more so our expectations
yes,
towards the outside.
And how we are reacting to our own past.
Yes.
Continuously.
Yes. So in terms of reaction, this is one of the things that I learned through meditation. I think probably the biggest thing, and I'm still learning, the way that you that we react to the surroundings kind of dictates our path. As I do believe in free will. I believe that we have the ability to express what we want to express and the ability to go through the path that we want to walk. So the moment that we start reacting to the outside world, I feel like the more we react, the more our free will is being taken away as we become like a ping pong ball in the resolution of what's happening on the outside. So we need to firstly feel whole. The more whole that we feel, it's like having an iron skin that reflects all the negativity and effects of the surroundings. The more powerful your walk is towards the direction that you want to go.
I think what you're referring to is not an iron shield, because when you use the word an iron shield, it is more to convey that I need to protect myself from the environment, okay? But I think what you're referring to is the stillness of the mind.
Yes.
Our mind is super reactive. Why is it reactive? Because if you see what research shows today is that we do not have the same attention span as our ancestors used to have. We don't even have the same attention span that our parents used to have. Our parents don't have the same attention span that our grandparents used to have. Why? Because life was much more slower back then.
Yes.
But today we don't have the attention span at all. More than 3 seconds, you don't have the attention span. Half of the people who might be watching this podcast at this particular moment might have fallen in the first 10 seconds, for example, okay? So what is very important to understand is our attention span is so short simply because we are continuously reacting. And we are not reacting outside. First, we start the reaction within. And this is why in mindfulness, in the practice of Zen, in the practice of Buddhist meditation, when we learn to go within and learn to become absolutely still, stillness does not simply mean physical stillness, but absolutely still at the level of thought, absolutely still at the level of mind. This is where we master the practice of stillness, the practice of non-reaction.
So I think unless and until we do not master the art of stopping the reaction within, we cannot create the iron shield through which we can deflect all the negativity that comes towards us.
Yes.
Because this is something that is happening so often, like when we say we have anxiety. What is anxiety? Anxiety is basically a spiral of thoughts. If anybody who's watching this video has experienced anxiety, it's a spiral of thoughts which I cannot control, which I cannot handle. And that spiral of thoughts gives me high blood pressure. That spiral of thoughts gives me this rush in my brain and my body that I do not feel safe in my own physical body. So coming back to your question, it's very, very vital that we, through mindfulness, through yoga, are able to go within ourselves, are able to do the practice of stilling our mind. Because unless and until we do not still our mind, unless and until we do not learn how to not react to that which is coming within us, to our insecurities, to our fears, to our triggers, unless and until we don't learn that, we would not be able to change as human beings in the outside world. Because whatever we are doing in outside world is a deep reflection of our inside world. And that becomes the whole basis of how I would do mental therapy with people. As a therapist, it's my job to understand what have we created for ourselves and what are the root causes. How did we react to a situation at a certain point in time? What were the triggers? Who were the people responsible for creating those triggers in my mind? And how do I continue to create or attract people or situations that have caused the misery in my life today? And the basis of all this work is ultimately going within ourselves to understand, can I choose to react differently this time? Because reaction is one thing that happens at the conscious level of mind. Through mindfulness, through all Zen practices, through all practices of Buddha, through yoga, through meditation, the ultimate goal is stillness. Which sometimes in the sutras of Patanjali or in the teachings of Patanjali is also known as samadhi. The last or the 8 legs, in the 8 legs, the 8th leg of yoga becomes samadhi, which is actually stillness. When you're meditating, when you have withdrawn your attention from everything outside back inside, when you focus, dharana, when you focus on one object, it could be your breath, it could be a chant, it could be a deity. When you start meditating, whatever your practice of meditation is, you have to learn to become still.
Yes.
So that stillness is everything, because that stillness will not come unless and until you choose not to react.
So, if you were to summarize yoga in one big sentence, what would you say yoga is?
I think yoga is basically a path of becoming aware of who we are. It's a path where you bring your awareness from everything outside back inside. We are continuously chasing happiness. We are continuously chasing people. We are continuously chasing places. We are continuously chasing goals. And if you were to look deep enough, you'll say, we are chasing all this in order to be happy. When yogis say, happiness is an inside job. So the whole path of yoga is the reverse engineering of whatever we have learned in our life. In our life, we have learned that if I need to be happy, I need to have a beautiful woman, I need to have money, I need to have car, I need to have these kind of friends, I need to have alcohol, I need to have this, I need to have a video game, I need to see a clip, I need to see Netflix in order to be happy. Yoga is the path of reverse engineering your mind to understand that happiness does not come from anything outside. You were born out of happiness, you were always happy. You have this infinite pool of happiness within, and your journey from everything outside back inside, in order to experience happiness from within, is, in one sentence, the path of yoga, is the practice of yoga. To discover who you are by redirecting your awareness and attention within yourself. And the ultimate goal of this practice is to expand your consciousness, expand your understanding and consciousness of yourself and of the world beyond your body and mind. And of course, in this path, like many other paths, the benefits are tremendous for your physical body, for your mental body, for your energetic body, for the people who are around you. You are radiating full of love, happiness and light.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And I have another question. If you were to give an advice to yourself 20 years ago,
Yes.
what advice would you give?
That's a very good question, because I have personally been involved with these practices that I teach today for almost 30 years. I think I have lived a very happy life. What advice would I give to myself is, I'm really not sure. I mean, at this point in time, when you put me on that spot, I think where I am and where I live, I am enjoying every single moment. And I think what I've learned in the last decade maybe is to be more accepting of not only myself, but also accepting of my belief systems. Whether I deserve it, whether I can do it, whether I deserve love, whether I deserve different energies. So I think if there was one advice that I would give to myself 20 years ago, along with my practices that I've always been doing, and I've already kind of had a great journey into life, into people, and meeting some of the best souls across the globe, is that be more accepting of yourself.
Yes.
Be more confident that you are meant to be loved. You deserve love, you deserve acceptance, and you're meant to shine. And you're meant to create that space within yourself before you expect others to give you that space.
What I also find fascinating about your answer is that it took you some time to figure it out, and what I got as a sense of feeling that you have towards yourself is that you don't regret anything that you have done before.
I don't regret, because I think regret is a waste of time, number one. Two, I think It is all our failures and experiences that make us a better human being.
And it creates who we are.
And it creates the personality that we are. If I teach people today, it does not come from a book. It comes from my failures, it comes from my experiences, it comes from my personal successes. And in that sense, I value life, I value the experiences of life, and I'm utterly grateful for the path I've walked. Maybe it's not a conventional path, but it's a path that makes me happy. And it's important for me to help others in this whole picture of the universe where I'm just playing a role of a small particle who's doing its bit to help the entire picture look brighter, beautiful, by just playing whatever I'm supposed to play. But if I could be more accepting of myself and others, I think that's a great learning all the time. Because that's when we have conflicts, when we do not accept ourselves or we do not accept others for who they are.
Amazing. Amazing, Vidhi. Thank you so much for joining me. It's a pleasure to have you as my guest here. Really, it is. I think you are a very inspiring person, and through your self-acceptance, love, confidence, and sunshine that you generate from yourself and sparkle on to others, I think a lot of people can learn and are learning already. So I hope whoever watches this, you have a great day full of self-love, full of acceptance, and shine that light onto your family or your friends as strong as you can. It must come from within, and that takes time. And I wish you all the best on your journey.
May all beings be happy.
May all beings be happy. Thank you very much, Vidhi.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.